Lots and lots of transformation programs fail, but have you ever wondered why? Is it a lack of money? Is it corporate politics? Is it the complexity or lack of stakeholder engagement? Is it all of these or something else? Welcome to AI Unscripted, where today I have Mark Green, CEO and founder of Change Rebellion, whose job it is to understand change and transformation. He's as honest as grandma's apple pie recipe, and he has a large sprinkling of practicality and common sense thrown in. I'm not too sure if that'll work in an industry, Mark, where those are very hard to get. But for Mark, for those who do not know you, who are you and who's Change Rebellion as well?
Thank you very much, Kieran. Yeah, so we support people going through change and transformation by providing experienced professionals, typically in change management, communications, L&D, that kind of thing. Yeah, and we very much, the organisation is driven by taking change management back to its practical roots, simplicity. Change management came about because there was an acknowledgement a long time ago that if you took your teams with you on a journey, more chance of it being succeeding. Surprise, surprise. So we are very much based on that one principle. We do core things that other people do, but the one principle, and we also try and make it a little bit fun as well because it's a long journey.
It can be, and that's the problem, isn't it, though? I think a lot of folks think it's, transformation's a project, chuck it to your IT team, as opposed to a never-ending, gorgeous journey, I should have said, is a never-ending, painful journey, although it's probably a mixture of both. So just like jumping in on the negative to begin, because I always sort of
Sure.
think you need to understand why things don't work before you can work out why things should or could work. Why do so many transformation programs appear to fail?
I think it's a really interesting question because I have two minds with this. So firstly, I think always at the beginning, that's where it falls over at the beginning, typically, because people either haven't prepared enough, don't understand the requirements enough, don't understand their strategy well enough. But from another hat, I've been involved in programs that have been huge digital programs that have looked like they're going to fail all the way through. You struggle through go live. 3 years later, you look back and they're incredibly successful. It's a real. I don't think there is just one answer to that. There's so many different variations of what could and couldn't happen. But obviously, I'm very biased. The big one for me is people. You have to take your people on that journey. It has to be a group effort in my mind.
Yeah, but I don't think there's anything wrong with being biased. The ones that I've seen in the past, just as you've mentioned several times, we're not bringing people with this. We're not
Yeah.
explaining the bright and shiny vision of the future. And all they're seeing in every newspaper, be it a digital one, a physical one, or online report, or LinkedIn post, or Twitter post, or goodness knows what, AI or digital technology is coming and it's going to kill your job, replace you. You're going to be made
Yeah.
redundant. Your
Yeah.
skills are awful. You, as a human being, no longer add value to this planet. So it's not exactly the most exciting journey that I would want to ever go on with my business. It's no
No.
wonder I would think I'm defeated before I began, or if I join in, all you're going to do is replace me. So I agree entirely with the human side of things. You mentioned one thing there, though, a second ago. 3 years later, we learned.
Yeah.
I think organizations are a bit, I want the results now because they're put under
Yeah.
pressure when it comes to shareholders and stakeholders and executives. And if I were to turn up in some of the big global businesses that I've been fortunate enough to be a member of, and unfortunate enough to be a member of times, and I say, don't worry, if you invest X millions in 3 years' time, we should see
Yeah.
something. And I've met very few leaders who are brave enough to persist and persist and persist
Yeah.
after 1 year and 2 years when things look horrible,
Yeah.
because they themselves are getting, for want of a better phrase, grief or
Yeah.
stress or pressure from their
Yeah.
shareholders or their board or something else. So it takes a brave individual to back a horse that looked a bit lame at the start of the game and then
Yeah.
decided to, come over the finishing line. But there's
Yeah.
lots. So here, look, before we make people rather sad and go, this is going to take forever and it's never going to work, how do we increase the chances or successes of transformation programs? Including obviously, communicate with people and make sure that they do see this as worthwhile and tangible and everything else. Well, what do we do?
I think for me, it's about having that common sense approach. It's not the people is a huge element, but it's about and this could go down a rabbit hole quite easily. But it's about who's in charge, and how they operate and how they work and their visions and how they share their visions. It's for me, it's to make it really work. It almost has to be like a community effort that's driven towards a purpose that everybody understands. And what's fascinating for me, again, don't want to go down a rabbit hole, is the difference between AI and digital. So from a digital perspective, in some respects, I can understand the concerns. You put a new piece of kit in, it could end up with people losing their jobs. With AI, I mean, I look at that in a completely different way. A completely different way. It's like your best friend assistant that you could have in a lot of respects. It's rather than it being something scary and terrifying. But I get that people don't understand that. So in terms of an actual deployment, how I would describe it is, from a digital perspective, yes, it's difficult. You need to translate that vision, that strategy down all levels and support people through that process. With AI, I think it's different because, and you're more experienced than I am, so correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, it's not just about how do we use it, it's what are those individuals' understanding of it? Because quite often it's very wrong. As you said earlier, people go, I'm going to lose my job. Oh no, we're going to have AI, it's going to do everything for us. They won't need me anymore. And there's an instant barrier and resistance to it. And I don't view it that way at all. I view it with very much two hats. There's the what are organizations going to do with AI? Do they really know? Do they really understand it? And then there's also how can I use it to help what I do, to help them? But I think for me, it's what's fascinating about this whole AI thing, and I'm late to the party, late to the table, is I'm uncovering all this stuff that is just so exciting about the possibilities of helping people, not getting rid of people, not taking people away, not taking jobs away, how it can actually enhance what you do, make you more efficient, more streamlined. It just, like I say, I'm really excited about it all.
Yeah, and I suppose that's maybe the difference between folks, isn't it? Someone once said to me ages ago, Mark, when you're making the change happen, it's very exciting. When change is happening to you, it's rather daunting. And if we go back through some of the technologies, VR, AR, robotic process automation, cloud, I think there is part of the problem. I use a phrase, and it's not mine, it came from someone else, is Silicon Valley's war on people. Even as they're presenting the technology to everyone, it's not a bright and shiny future where humanity is going to benefit tremendously. Although I have heard musings of that to justify AGI, which is we're not going to have to work, but people go to work to have a purpose, for socialization, for community, a whole host of reasons. So I think that's a nonsensical phrase, and universal incomes. Different. But I think we badly sold technology in the past. Getting shareholders excited and CEOs excited. Let's put this in and get the very people who are potentially going to be benefiting, or rather impacted by the technology, to do themselves out of a job. But for me, I see a lack of connection between, a gorgeous triangle, which is people strategy, technology strategy, and business strategy to deliver something that's valuable to customers. And if you don't have a plan for your genuine, most important asset, your people, a career path for them, then it's nonsensical. But I've seen many an org doesn't have actual HR or people strategy, as I prefer to call them, at the CEO or the board dining table, and therefore they normally are enacting some of the instructions that have been given to them, as opposed to going, well, look, why don't we work together? We work out what customers will value and pay in excess for. How do we deliver that increasingly more digitally? So how do we get our people into a place and a space where they remain relevant? They've got the skills that the organization need. We're communicating that story and vision on one page, otherwise it's too complicated to bring them with us. Why don't we get a buy-in from them, and explain that this is exciting, and have it communicated and trained and everything else. And those who want to go on the journey, absolutely fantastic. So Mark, what are some of the pitfalls, and I've maybe mentioned some of those there, that organizations encounter, and how do we build a successful transformation strategy, be it AI or anything else?
Well, I think you've touched on a really good point there, because AI and some of the more recent digital products are coming on the back of failed programs like ERPs, CRMs, where people weren't taken on a journey and they weren't really involved. They were hit with it last minute. And I think the lessons need to be from that. If we don't learn from history how we work and operate in teams, with people, in organizations, we're going to keep on making the same mistakes. So for me, it's we have to learn from that. We have to go, actually, do you know what? I really wish I'd told my team what we were doing from day one. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have met all that resistance when we did the ERP system or whatever it was. So I think we need to learn from that. And I'm actually enjoying, and I hope you're seeing it as well, there seems to be a trend on LinkedIn where people are speaking about this more. And they're actually saying, we've learned lessons from the past. We need to change that. Now, there are always going to be, for want of a better way to put it, what I would call the old guard, who perhaps like to work a particular way. And, you know, and that's fine. But we will change. We will move forward as a civilization, hopefully. And people will start to see that actually, yeah, we need to work collectively together to meet our objectives. And we'll all be successful and we'll all move towards something more positive. For me, you know, as a species, we've got a fantastic knack of overcomplicating things. We've done that for years. It was a mess. You know, we can all talk about our experiences in the working world where something's happened. It's been disastrous. We've hated it. So yeah, for me, it's learn from that.
Yeah, I wonder though, question to both of us, you know, as humans, we are awful at times. You know, I sometimes think the biggest unspoken reason why transformation doesn't work as people is not necessarily the technology, because you can do anything you want with the technology, and you probably could have done everything you wanted to date with the technology that you ever wanted to do. It's just adding more and better capabilities on, as opposed to creating new things in the main. But we do tend to make those same mistakes over and over again. So to say we do, you know, once you've been grizzled and through the mill, you tend not to make those mistakes. And for me, I very often see, you know, managers or leaders at the start of their career or moving into new domains going, we'll do it like this. And someone in the business going, well, you know, we've tried that before. They automatically get called a Luddite, for want of a better phrase, and not listened to. Whereas actually what they're saying is, look, we've done it before and it probably didn't work. And therefore, why don't we work together to work out how we actually implement this in a much better way? And there is, again, I have to say, I blame the technology industry and people in it additionally, not just to communicating poorly or over-promising or whatever else. But we have said, you know, ERP is going to revolutionize the world. And leaders have went, one tool, magic wand, let's do it. And it hasn't worked. Then we said the internet would do it. And the internet's been transformative. But again, it was, look, nobody will ever need to visit or leave their home or do anything. Everything can become a digital tool. A bit interesting when you're looking at a house or an apartment somewhere. It's a digital tool, you know. And then we promised with XR and VR and AI and robotic process automation. And, but, you know, you name it, we've promised the technology. People have bought the Kool-Aid, believed one digital tool can do everything. And we're almost in a danger of promising the same thing with AI and generative AI. So I can understand why businesses have a lack of faith at times as to technology companies or technologies or. And I do think it's a bit of a jigsaw or a bit of a, you know, a magic recipe where there's lots of different ingredients. And by not including an ingredient or putting in a wrong ingredient, you're going to get things badly wrong again. And if we don't take time to examine why things have went wrong in the past, not to dine out on anything, you know, problematic or to dig up old bones, but to understand why it didn't work, to be able to put something in place that ensures it does work going ahead, then we're in danger of wasting a golden opportunity. In AI and generative AI and agentics and automation and cloud, it's just such a golden age that it's shame on us if we don't actually get it right this particular time.
No, I absolutely agree. One of the things we one of the things we do, and so I'm sure you've been on team events where you've gone away with all the team and you've played silly games, possibly had a beverage or two on an evening, had a nice meal, and you've got to know people within that organization that you would never typically talk to. So from our perspective, we like to kick those kind of events off from the beginning, get those people at the different levels interacting, talking, engaging. For me, it's vitally important. And I think if we don't do that, regardless of system, whatever it may be, get the people communicating, talking and working together, and have, you know, Bob, who's a janitor, speak to Clive, who's the CEO, and get them engaging so they understand their point of view, their perspective.
Yeah, I really love that. There's something I say, and I'm sure I've bored my teams to death as I'm trying to build high-performing teams and businesses over the years. When I walk into an organization, I say there's 3 things I'd like to improve. 1 is communication, 2 is oddly enough communication, and 3 is communication. You know, and it's so true. All the answers exist inside of a business in the head or somewhere else, and it just ends up not the same. It was the one thing, you know, again, not wanting to harp back. You know, it was the one thing I hoped post-COVID, that all of a sudden we're in each other's houses and lives, and we've seen each other as humans, as opposed to, you know, Sheila in accounts, Brian in procurement, Mustafa in data science, you know, and it's that darn department or that individual who's not helping us, when actually it's real human beings working together to create something that was better than before. And it's the sum of the parts joined together to create a better outcome that we hope, in addition to great tech, our great people allow us to achieve more. But Mark, we could talk about all the things that went wrong and how to do all the things right. For those people who want to maybe find out a little bit more about you and what you do and your experiences, how do they go about that?
𝗀𝗲𝗿𝗃𝗀𝗿.com is the website. You'll see our services, what we offer. For a more personal approach, me on LinkedIn. Sometimes it does look like the ramblings of a madman, but I promise there is always something there of quality, I hope. Yeah, and have a look at Change Rebellion and myself on LinkedIn. You'll see that I very much focus on making it human. So exactly what you said. Yes, you can be professional, but you can also integrate a bit of fun. For me, that's just, we're humans. We should be able to do that. It frustrates me when we don't. So yes, the best way to get in touch, look at my point of view on change, transformation, is LinkedIn. And then yes, if you want to have a look at our services, look at the website.
Brilliant. I think if we could do things with a little bit more humanity and with a little bit more of a smile on our face, wouldn't life be so much grander? Mark, thank you very much. And listeners, thank you very much for joining us today. We look forward to another episode of AI Unscripted in the none too distant future. Thank you.